Well, first of all, I trained in at Children's Hospital in Oakland as a pediatrician, and I was there for 3 years doing a residency. After I did the residency in pediatrics, I went into East Oakland to a clinic that was just beginning there called La Clínica de la Raza. And I worked there and helped start up the pediatric clinic at La Clínica. From the first 3 years I was in practice. Then I wanted to become a country doctor, so instead of just staying in just pediatrics and just working with babies and with kids, I decided I wanted to be more of a family doctor. And so I had an opportunity to move to Point Reyes, to the coastal area of western Marin County. And so that was the first practice outside of pediatrics that I did. And I worked in a clinic, or actually a private practice, in doing family practice in Point Reyes for about 4 years. And I've actually been in Point Reyes ever since then. And that's been since 1975. So I started in 1975, worked for 4 years in a private practice and family practice. And in family practice, it's like a general practice. We did everything. We delivered babies, we took care of older people who were dying, and everything in between. A lot of the moms and the babies, and then well babies, sick babies, well adults, sick adults, a lot of injuries and all kinds of things. So we did that, and we still do that out where I am now. So in college, the best class that I took, I was an engineering major, and I got a degree in engineering. And I would say that I was actually, the best teachers that I had, that I remember, were 2 English teachers and 1 chemistry teacher. And those were the classes that I liked the best. And what is important to me about those classes is that I not so much remember what I learned in them, as I remember the teachers and how good I thought that they were. So those were my favorite classes in college. And in medical school, my favorite class that I remember was a class that we took when I was my first year in medical school called Doctor-Patient Relationship. It was really fascinating because what they did is they took us to a hospital, and there were different hospitals, but each week they would take us to a hospital, and they'd say, here's a chart of a patient, go and spend an hour with them. And we had no idea who they were. All the patient knew was that a medical student was going to come in and talk to them for an hour. And then they said it was okay. But we had no idea. It was an older man, older woman, young kid, no idea who the people were or why they were there. But we spent an hour with them, and then we came back, and as a group, we talked about all of our experiences. And then the teacher, who was a psychologist, I think, would actually tell us or reflect with us and talk about what the experiences were and what they thought, the psychologists thought, that were the things that we could have gotten out of or did get out of our talking with and learning about the patients. That was really a great experience. So I enjoyed that a lot. Well, an example of that would be, especially orthopedics, meaning studying people that have injuries or have some sports-related problems. Like maybe it would be low back pain that they have from work, or they would have some injury that they got playing soccer or playing basketball. So I would, very typically have to use my understanding of how the muscles, tendons, joints, bones all work together, and to be able to help a person and help myself understand what the likely kind of injury is, and how all those parts of the tissue work together. So that's the anatomy part, because understanding how all the joints and the ligaments and the tendons and the muscles and the nerves and the bones all join together and how they all work together is really an important way of understanding how, when somebody's injured, how they heal. And part of that healing too has to do with the physiology, which is the chemistry of those various different kinds of tissue. So the muscles have different kinds of little fibers in them called actin and myosin, and the nerves have certain kind of electrical conduction in them, and all of these things heal in different ways, and they heal at different rates. How fast they heal varies from the kind of tissue they are. Bone takes a long time to heal because it's much more slow growing, and healing is more slowly with the way that the calcium gets laid down in the bone. So all those things are really important to understanding how an injury happens and how healing happens. I would say get a lot of experience working with people before you decide that you want to go into medical or nursing or healthcare. That see what it feels like to work with people and how you like interacting with people, because this kind of work is a lot of science, but you can do science in a laboratory, working with lab animals and working with chemicals. But when you're working with people, it's really much more about relationship building and how you actually can really work with people to be able to see what their real stories are. Sometimes they call those hidden agendas, like what the stories that are behind why should they might be there. Somebody might come in with a headache, but really what's going on is they're having terrible problems in their family. So really being able to actually understand relationships among people is something that the kind of work that you can do, for example, going to a clinic and just working as a volunteer, or doing some work where you may be doing some service like in a hospital or or maybe even going overseas and spending a little bit of time in a Peace Corps kind of a situation. Not that people have to necessarily spend a year or two doing that, but just being able to get some experience, some real life experience, knowing what it's like to work with people is, I think, really important to be able to see whether or not this is the right kind of work for you.